Hello, 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 hello. Wherever you happen to be located on this thought-provoking planet we humans call Earth, wherever you may happen to be on the globe, I hope you're having a serene day, evening, or night wherever you're located. Once more, welcome to my channel. As you can see, I'm using one of the renowned 3D applications of Blender, or better yet, Blender, from what I heard, is like the Swiss Army knife of 3D packages. It does a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and a little bit of that. It's like the Swiss Army knife. It's not a master. Hold up. It's not proficient at anything, but it's not a total failure at nothing. So, got a lot of features. Not a master of any of the features. There's other things better, but it gets the job done. All right, my topic of the day is I want to use the graph editor. Now, before I get into the graph editor, here's the star of my show right here. I have an empty, a NURBS curve, a light, and a sweet chimpanzee called Susanna. My empty is following a path, which is, as you can see right there, the NURBS curves. And I have my camera parented to the empty. I made a video on that. If you would like to know more about that, go check out my video. Let's get into the star of this show. To get into there's many ways of getting into the graph editor. You can click up here on the editor type and choose a graph editor. I can go down here with my timeline at. If I want to get rid of my timeline, I can click on editor type and choose graph editor, or for the new ones, for the newbies, I can go pick the where it say animation and click on that, and I'm right into it. And I heard I can switch between the graph editor, which is right here. Here's the graph editor where my red line at. I hit Control Tab. Yeah, I can switch between the graph editor and the dope sheet. But compared to the graph editor, the dope sheet looks sort of lame, don't it? It looks lame. But the star is the graph editor. Now, I want to explain some things. Up here, oh my God, can I use them? Can I use my mouse? Can I hit in here with a T key? Oh my God, I can't use my great. Oh, can I use it down here? Nope, I cannot. Well, anyway, right up at the top, where you see my mouse at, that's the timeline. This is the timeline right here. That's the most important part of this. When I run the animation, it will follow the timeline. But now, here's the beauty of what I like. Since I have my the star of the show, as you see, that's moving. Let me click the animation. You see the thing that's moving is that empty. But the empty is on that NURBS curve. Or I should just say curve. That's the star of the show, that empty. But the thing I love, people, as you can see, since I'm following the path. Over here where my mouse at, where it say empty, it got the classification. I'm only worrying about location. I'm not worrying about rotation. I'm not worrying about scale. So that's all my buttons show you: location, location, location. And there's a reason why. See, I'm following that path. So up here where you see my mouse at, you see offset factor. We come back down here and to this little editor type, you see offset factor. When I click on that, that's the line that will control that empty. So the good thing about that offset factor is it get rid of all them other lines, like the red line. Well, this is red, but you get my point. It gets rid of the blue line and the green line. When you're using the offset factor, from what I can determine so far in my little time dealing with this, it just dealing with that one line. That's beautiful right there. So, and for this video, like you did, people, I watched videos on a graph editor, but it turned me off. I got tired of seeing that damn ball going up and down. Most people do that ball, they look at the cube. What I have is close to a real, live, functional, graphical scene. That's what I mean. Yes, I have an empty following the curve, but what if I had a person in a walk cycle? I can have the person, instead of the empty going on the curve, I can have a person in my walk, a person, one animal, one insect, and a walk cycle following that curve. So this video is really functional. I ain't showing you how to bounce a dumb ball or just to move the cube from point 1 to point 2. I'm using a follow path, and that makes it so much easier. Alright, so done with that. Now, what I love, now if I click on X, see, it's not using X. If I click on Y, see, nothing appear. If I click on Y, nothing appear for Y. I'm not using no Y. If I click on Z, nothing appears. If I click on offset factor, zap. Like over here, my constraint thing, offset. So that's the beauty of it. So you already know right now, if you're intimidated by the green line, the blue line, and a bunch of lines all over the place, like I've seen like on many of them websites, lines all over the place. That's why I kept mine simple. Use follow path constraint. I think that's got to do with one line. But you know your particular object, since it doesn't have an empty and I don't got much to do with it, the particular object may have its own unique set of graph editing sessions, but that's for another session. So right here, you see two blue lines. On my mouse at one going vertical, one going horizontal. Up at the top, you see the numbers for the timeline. Start from, well, -2, -20, etc. And it goes all the way up to 250. Those points correspond right at the bottom. When you see my mouse at, I click on that dot, that's my 60. Right? Well, I can say 63. If you look on my timeline right here, 63. I click on my next point. A little bit past 120. And when I click on them, I think the timeline points get activated. There's that. I click on my next one. 180. Right on the timeline, you see it. I click on my last one. Roughly 250. Right here. So it's best to have the timeline open with the graph editor so you can get an idea where the thing's at. But you see on my graph, and the points are right above it. Here's my point here, right above it. It's a point that corresponds to that other timeline. Here's the timeline point, right above it is the actual point. The timeline point, above it, actual point. Here's my timeline point, right above it, the actual point. So here we go. Now, like I said, up the numbers at the top of the timeline. Over to the left, you see numbers from 0 to 1. I had to think about that. What does it mean? That's basically, in this case, in the location, it's the distance from one point to the other. Basically, my starting point is 0. Oh, I know what this is for. This is for, where it say offset factor right here. From 0 to 1, it's the numbers for my offset factor. Because if I go from 0, that's where it started, and I go to 1, it's right here. So why I'm using my follow path, that 0 to 1 is the numbers for my offset factor. So let me move it to 50 and let's see what happens. But it's not going to show it on here. I was hoping that it would show it on in the graph editor, but it don't show it. So you have to work explicitly with the graph editor. So the graph editor, so that's one thing right there, people. The graph editor and the 3D viewpoint, they don't have a relationship. They're singular entities. I wish they were, but they're not. So let me explain what this rising curve is, because it is a slight curve. This rising curve represents my initial point. See, 0, 0. And as I move down the timeline from 1 250, my distance increased. Let me give an example. I'm going to hit shift. You see? The distance from that 0, the offset, the distance is increasing. So that's why it's going up. That's why it's going up. And it's a positive. So I'm going from 0 to 1 in a positive direction. So it's increasing. It's increasing. It's increasing. That's why it's increasing. And even if you wasn't using this offset thing, it follows the same rules in a regular timeline. All right, so let me go back. Now, here's an important thing that discussed on many videos. I click on key. The most important one from what I got is the interpolation mode. I can choose constant. Nothing happened. I choose linear. Is linear. I can choose sinusoidal. Why is it not working? Let me hit A. Let me go back to key. Oh, now it's constant. As you saw, it changed. And a constant is getting those so-called smooth errors. So let me play the video. Let's see how it looks. That's normal. And it should stay still. When it get constant, it should not move. And you see it's not moving. So that's important right there. With the graph editor, you have control of the movement of your object. Because remember, dear people, and it's normal, basic, follow the curve. What's that? Follow the path mode. It just follow the path just like that. No frills, no thrills, no nothing. It just follow the path. You get me? And I think, see, I know what I'm going to be using when I have a path. Because I already made another video. I just did this video for myself to make the graph understandable for me. So I basically do this not for the rule, but I made this assignment for me. Because I learned in programming class to do something hard, you better make something simple first. If anybody had programming skills, been in the programming class, you know, before you tackle that hard programming assignment, you better reduce it to a simple component. Then you can understand the complex stuff. So we see now, follow the path. It's just going to be a smooth motion. So we see right here where it says key at. We see our interpolation types. Bezier is the main one. And these the main three: constant, linear, and Bezier. Then they got other sinusoidal, quadratic. You know, they're just going to smooth the curve out. You see my curve smoothed a little bit. But it's not going to do much. See, I'm going to go back to that. Watch my curve. I'm going to choose quadratic. And you see it took a little dip. If I play my video, it may change somewhat because there's a little dip right here where my mouse at. It may go back a little bit. Let's see. See, it did stop a little bit. Then it continues its upward motion. Okay. So you got the idea for that. Next, what you may want to do, you either can hit the V key or like V key. That give me my free, align, vector, automatic, auto clamp. The main one you're going to be using is called free. I'll give you an example of that. Let me click back on here. Offset factor. Click on that point. You see I have handles right here. If I move it, you see how it's moving? Like that. Let me get into it. If I hit V and I choose free, only one handle is highlighted. And you see that's controlling the left portion of the curve. So you probably use the one called free the most. Let me zoom out. But if you don't like it, if shortcut keys give you a lot of trouble, you just can click on the word key and look for handle type. You see it right here. Free, align, vector, automatic, etc. All right, so now let's get into the crux of this. So we got an idea that from the timeline, since I'm dealing with follow the path, it's going to follow my offset directive from 0 to 1. I hope we're clear on that. See, now since it's doing follow the path, see it try to help you make this stuff easier now. So remember that, people, when you're dealing with these when you want to experiment with the graph editor, it's best to use follow the path when you have something already moving, and you're not making it move. All right, so now let me get into the crux of it. I want to click on one of my little handles. Well, I just want to click right here on this time part. I'm just going to grab it down. I hit G, grab it down. Oh, but the whole thing going down. I want to make some dramatic changes. I'm gonna click on the handle and tilt it down. Then I'm gonna hit G. Oh, let me do this. All right, so now I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen before I even do it. You see, if I go from left to right, the time is increasing. You see where it's red at, the distance is moving greater and greater. When I get to the top right here, now the distance is becoming less and less and less and less. So that means it should back up. I'm gonna say it again. As it going up, as it go from 0 to 1, that means the distance is increasing. So I'm moving along that particular curve. I'm moving along the curve. As I get to my crest at the top, now the curve is going down. So my object should go in reverse or go backwards until it falls down here. Okay, so let's see what happens. See, it's moving. Then it's backing up. See, there we go. So you have a lot of power with this. A lot of power. Let me take a good look at it. Again, it's increasing, increasing, increasing. Then it hit the curve. Then it's backing up. See, then now it's increasing. Now it's increasing more steadily right here. See, it stopped right here, and now it's increasing. I guess it's increasing gradually. So that's a way how you slow down the time. Now I don't know if it's my computer because I have an i5. I don't know if that's the reason why it's going slow. But I can tell if I put it back towards the default mode. Let me hit Control Z a couple times. Control Z, all right, there's in the default mode. Let's see if it has that normal speed that it first had. If it's going super slow, that means my computer is having some trouble. Okay, it's like it's going slow, so my computer may be acting up, people. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry about that. My computer's slow. My i5. Alright, but so let's go on with this video. Remember, I cannot use X, Y, Z since I have this constraint there. I'm stuck with offset factor. I have to click on that. Now, what happened if I take my handles, and then you can take your handle out too and stretch it out. If you stretch your handles out more, that means it should increase or decrease rapidly. See, it's increasing rapidly. Oh, that's too much. I like it right there. So, in theory, as I go from left to right, it's going up, it's moving, it's going along the time, it's going along. Because remember, from 0 to 5, that means it's moving along the path. It's moving along the path normally. It hit this, then it's going to come down, and it should come down sharply, quickly. Then it hit that crest, then it should go up gentle. Let's see. I hope my computer not super slow. All right, so let's see what it's doing. Okay, the speed is increasing. It's increasing. It's going up sharply. It says, Jim, it's getting sharp. See, sharp increase. It's still increasing sharply. Still moving fast. Now it should back up. It should back up. Yes, it's backing up. Now it should slow down. It should go forward at a nice slow pace. And there we go. So that concludes my video, dear people, of using the graph editor with follow path constraint. When you use it with the follow path constraint, all you have to do is worry about the offset factor. All you worrying about is the object on a path. You're not worrying about X, Y, or Z. You see, I have more empty over here. If I empty my offset, now that's empty. So, to get used to the graph editor, I would say put objects on a path. Then you just have to worry about one thing only, and that's it. No one ever talked about that on YouTube. I ain't never heard nobody had used the graph editor for follow path. And then when you keep working for your path, when you keep working with the graph editor on that follow the path, then you know you'll be better with it when dealing with movement, rotation of your object in 3D space. See, I can move my object. See, let me click on, let me stop it. See? Grab. I want to move my cube right there. I'm gonna move my empty right there. And if I move right there, hit I. Oh Lord. Hit I. Let's see. I want to see what happened. So it seemed like the object, that curve only is effective when I'm following the path. It don't care if I move it or whatever, because the object is attached to that constraint. So it don't seem like the others are working. But that's a good way to get used to graph editor, which I'll be using a lot now. Because we're thinking about the graph editor. You want to control how fast your thing is moving. That's why we're doing it. That's why I'm doing it. So put your object on follow a path. Just worry about manipulate that constraint. Like I said, you don't gotta be worrying about all them other things, X, Y, Z, and all that. You just worry about your offset factor. So thank you for stopping by. For the new Blender users, as you see, I continue learning. It's just a hobby for me. I'm over 40. This is just a hobby for me. And I'm an educator too. If we didn't have the COVID pandemic, I would stay after school like on a Thursday and teach this to my students. But now good people, for the most part here in the Western world, here in the U.S., since COVID has taken over, we don't have a lot of after-school activities anymore. So for the new people, you do not stop. You keep growing. You see, I've grown. I have grown. Because before, I just thought the graph editor had to deal with just moving your object in a 3D space, and that's it. I never thought about using the graph editor with a constraint, the follow path constraints, where it becomes so much more easier. Keep pushing, keep striving, don't look back. Till the next time, Blender family, 3D family, peace.